Hello and welcome to another episode of On the Fly Television. I'm your host, Dennis Gleason, and welcome to the show. What is On the Fly Television? Just that, television on the fly. Talking about whatever we feel like, whenever we feel like, however we feel like talking about it. So today is September 11th, 2007. We all know the necessity to talk about on 9/11. I have here a guest with me. I have here Jesse Black. He's actually the co-host of another television show that we work on, or that I work on. It's TV Linux. It was right before this one that I normally follow. Jesse, thank you very much for joining me.
Glad to be here, Dennis.
Great, thank you. Now, really quickly before we get into 9/11, because we all need to talk about that, even if it's only for a few minutes, tell me a little bit about your Linux show. What's your point? What's the purpose of the show?
We promote the Linux operating system, which is a free operating system. It's an alternative to Microsoft Windows, and it's also an alternative to the Mac OS X.
Okay, so would that be like Windows Lite, or it's a sugar substitute? Well, here it is, an operating system substitute.
It would be the whole wheat version.
The whole wheat version of it.
Because it's better for you.
It's better for you. Now, personally speaking, I've actually never used Linux myself. I've actually covered for you guys one time in which I tried so desperately to get OpenOffice onto my computer so I could have some demos for my autocorrect feature I've talked about, and what ended up happening was I wasn't able to get it installed in time. So I did a very big no-no, as I actually did a show about something you could do on OpenOffice using Microsoft Office, which I'm sure if someone had an email address, they would have given me a lot of guff for. But
I actually saw that show, Dennis,
did you?
And I thought you did a great job.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. So any Linux users out there that thought that was a bad idea for me to use Windows, it was the purpose of the show, not always the items in the show that counts, okay? So if you learned anything whatsoever, then that was the purpose of it. So now to 9/11. Of course, it's being taped on 9/11, and this is going to be previewed until probably 9/14 or something like that. But we all know, of course, 9/11 is where we had the terrorist attack on the United States, and being an anniversary now, 6 years later, there doesn't seem to be as much going on, as much festivities and/or remembering ceremonies and activities that had gone in.
The memory of that incident is beginning to fade.
It is, but I don't think the value or the memory, just the amount of attention that goes toward activities. Yeah,
I think we all remember where we were when we first saw or heard of those planes crashing.
So where were you? When and where were you? Did you hear it first?
I was at work. The gal in the office next to me came in and said, "A plane has run into the World Trade Center," and I said, "No."
Did you know it was in New York, first of all? Because I don't know if most people know, but there's a World Trade Center in most cities.
Right.
Most major cities, excuse me.
So I guess I thought of New York.
Okay, okay.
And it was, and I could not believe it. I just said, it's got to be some kind of an accident.
Sure.
And it was just amazing that it was not an accident. It was real.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable to see photographs of a commercial airliner intentionally running into
sure.
a very tall building.
Yeah, and the second one obviously proved that it was not an accident, right? The first one, you can run every gamut you want to and try to guess, but by the time the second one came about and the discussions with the other planes, that there was definitely something afoot, right? So where was I? Let's see what the first airplane would have hit, around 9:30 sometime Eastern time. So I was still in bed. Yes, I admit, folks, my lazy behind was in bed, sleeping happily. Thank you. My son, actually, Gabe Gleason, you've seen him in previous episodes, actually called me and said, "Hey, Dad, wake up." And guess what happened? And so I go, what? And he goes, a plane has hit the World Trade Center. And I'm like, huh? It was a cross between I'm not awake yet and are you really talking to me?
And that's not supposed to happen.
That's not supposed to happen. Of course, I went in, I turned my television on, which most people that know me, that's a very rare event. I mean, you could probably set your calendar for the 3-month mark because I don't really turn the TV on very often except for to watch movies. So, and I went and I saw it, and of course, I was horrified. And then shortly later, of course, the news of the other one, I had folks that were actually off-site for my work, and they were trapped because they had suspended all plane travel at that point. So yeah, it was very traumatic. A lot of people died, unfortunately, in that situation. Like anything else, we have to be positive about what came out of it, since you really have nothing you can do about the event. So now you have to decide what you want to do with the event. In this case, learn from it. People criticize Bush for some of his decisions, and even though I'm a Democrat, I think a lot of his decisions were right. I'm not going to go into all of them or which one specifically, but if you really look at the job that he had to do and all the things that were involved in it, you know, sometimes people get dumbfounded when something happens right away, to the point where sometimes they have a hard time processing it. And I can look at situations in my past, like when, you know, when major events happen, I've sat in shock and thought about it before I realized, hey, something really happened. So, well, let's go on to another subject, a little bit more positive, maybe, because we're running out of time. We have about 2 minutes left of the show, so yeah, it doesn't take very much to get rid of the show when it's only 9.5 minutes. So what I also want to talk about is right after 9/11, I actually had my car accident. So I was on the way home from the Beaverton Police Department, or Beaverton Police Activities League Board of Directors, where I used to be with before we changed it to Westside PAL, now back to Beaverton again. And I was just coming home, a guy came out of a parking lot and just sideswiped me, and you know, took me out of work for almost 3 months, a little bit later down the road. And unfortunately I have a back injury. You know, you might not be able to tell, but I have a headache almost every day, and I just hide it really well. I'm used to it. But some days I can't really do that, but I'm doing all right. Speaking of which, Beaverton PAL has their 5th annual charity auction, or charity golf tournament, coming up on October 6th. So any of you happen to be out in the Beaverton, Washington County area and want to help the Police Activities League, help with you know, with kids and get the money in there to help with the different programs to keep kids off the street. They have one of the best boxing programs in this part of the country, and definitely the best one in the state for the kids. So, you know, look them up. It's Beaverton PAL. I think it's westsidepal.org is the website. Another thing I want to talk about was what I did this weekend.
What did you do this weekend?
I spent a lot of time, effort, energy, and money and resources this weekend. What I did is my son and my friend Karen and her son, we all went up to Gorge, the Columbia River Gorge, and we did some sightseeing. We went to the Mary Hill Museum. It's some early settlers. There's a copy of Stonehenge up there, really close to the museum.
Large, small?
It's a full scale.
Wow.
And it's like the Stonehenge as it was supposed to be, not as it is, as the one in England. And we went to Kennewick, Washington, which is not very far away. I have to get peaches every time I go up the gorge. I just can't help it. I just do. And then Wishram is, they have a model train, a really old train. So all together we ended up going all the way up to where you get watermelons from. I can't remember where.
Hermiston?
Hermiston. We drove all the way to Hermiston and back on Sunday, so it's 450 miles. Get a chance, you want to take a day trip, learn some things, go up the gorge, go across at Biggs and see Mary Hill Museum, say Dennis Gleason at TV On the Fly sent you there. Go see Stonehenge and see those other sites. So that's pretty much all the time we have, folks. So thank you again for watching. Appreciate it. Again, this is On the Fly Television with me, Dennis Gleason. If you want to produce television and you're interested in Washington County area, contact TVC TV at www.tvctv.org or give them a call at 503-629-8534. Thank you for watching.